Hello everyone. This morning's video is going to be a quick one, just showing you what I've done so far to get the car ready to be completely taken down. Eventually, hopefully coming soon, we have the body completely off the chassis because I need to replace the floor pans and do some other things while the chassis is completely off. In that process, I'm going to do a full wiring harness as well because I have some things that just aren't hooked up and all my wiring is getting pretty old and needs to be replaced. Next up, I did headlights and grills. You can see down in here, now that I have the grill out, all this is pretty badly rusted. I mean, the whole vent channels are completely rusted out, so that's going to be something I'll address once the body's off before I do any repair work. The headlights I'm on the fence about because someone has done a good job converting them to the Beetle style with the slanted back, but they're not Karmann Ghia original, so the driver's side vent channel is even worse because the screw mount to hold the grill in place is almost completely rusted off. It doesn't have much left holding it on. So I had to zip tie it for a while because when I drove it down the road one day and hit the brakes after I did the brake job, the grill flew out and I ran over it. So luckily the grill wasn't damaged. I just have to clean it up a little bit, but I zip tied it in place for now. This side isn't as bad, but you can still see there's some rust down in here that I'll have to address before I paint and do all that. As you can see, I've also taken off the front bumper. Front bumper came off really easy, just a handful of bolts, and all the bolt mounting points seemed like there was little to no rust, so it came off real easy. Should go back on pretty easy. Obviously, I'll clean up those holes a little bit, get the little bit of rust that is in there out, but not too bad overall. This part's going to be kind of a pain. I don't know, somebody must have barely bumped something at one point, but that should roll out relatively easy. And my goal with this is not to make it a perfect show car, but just clean it up and make it better than it is now. So hopefully I should be able to do that on that part on my own there. And other than that, it looks like someone had bondoed down here a little bit, so I'll probably end up having to get that cut out and weld in a new piece to make that a little bit more structural. The rear bumper, on the other hand, is a bit of a nightmare. This does not look like it's supposed to be here. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like something the factory did. And it had been repaired in a way that they had welded it down to the body, which also didn't look factory, and made the back bumper a real pain to take off. I ended up having to get the reciprocating saw to it. So I'm going to have some serious repairs to do here. The other side looks like it was cut out over here. That hole just seems way too big for the bumper to pass through, so I'm not convinced that that's how it should have been to begin with anyway. So I'll have to do some repair work on that side as well. And all of this is all bent up and beaten behind that bumper. It doesn't look like the car was ever rear-ended or anything. It's just poor repair work and the bumper hanging on places it never should have. So I'll have to do a lot of tweaking with that steel work there and get it back to how it should be. And if you look closely, you'll notice that the rear deck lid is also gone. I took that off. That was also 2 bolts on each side. A little bit trickier because the brake lights and license plate lights had to be, or not the brake lights, the license plate lights had to be disconnected, or really I ended up just cutting them because I need to replace all those wires anyway. So I'll resolder those once I get the new wiring harness. But that part wasn't too bad to take off either. And the bottom of the deck lid needs some work too around this area. You can see there's some rust here, and it was about the same on the deck lid itself, so I'll have some work there as well. The brake lights were real straightforward to take off. I still need to take this housing out, I believe, but just a rubber gasket underneath there and 2 screws on one top, one bottom. So those pop right off real easy. Another debate of mine is if you look real close there, there's some micro cracks in the brake lights, but I'm not sure they're really worth replacing yet, and that's something I can always pop back on once everything else is done if I decide to replace those down the road. So probably leave them alone for now and just put those back on. For some new excitement underneath the car, I have a gear oil leak coming out of the end of the swing axle. I believe that's a result of a seal going bad in the end of the axle. I took it apart once, kind of wiggled some stuff around, tightened everything back up, and it's still going on, so that's something I'll have to address too before it's back on the road. And on the right side there, you can see I have a teensy tiny oil leak. There's a lot more kitty litter there than really needs to be, but I've just been moving around between the different fluids, so a couple of drops a week really. So that seal might just have a little speck of dirt there that's letting it not sit quite right, but not really worth draining all the oil back out just to fix a leak that small. So before I get it back on the road, I'll have to just Probably end up replacing the oil again and reseating that seal. Back up the front, I've also noticed a few drips of brake fluid that appear to be rolling out of the master cylinder, which, since I did the 4-disc brake conversion, well, the rear disc brake conversion really, and did 4 all-new discs, everything I've read says that if you do the rear discs, you really need to upgrade to a larger master cylinder, so that's going to have to happen eventually anyway before this thing's really safe to drive. I've driven it since I've done the brakes just around the neighborhood, up to 30 miles an hour. Tested the brakes, everything works fine, but the brake pedal has a lot more travel than it probably should, so hopefully an upgraded master cylinder will fix that, and also fix the fact that it's leaking. Another fun bonus project is that the piece that held on my driver's side quarter window is gone. It snapped. The metal was apparently pretty badly deteriorated and just snapped off when I tried to crack it open one day, so I'll have to replace that as well. Luckily those aren't too expensive, so that should be an easy fix, and the window's still in good shape. And of course, once I get it painted, I'll have all the rubber replaced, get the rubber replacement kit, so all that rubber's coming out anyway, so kind of a blessing in disguise, I guess. And over in the corner of my garage, I have a small collection of parts starting to amass. I'm going to have to come up with a better system of storing them, because there's obviously a lot more stuff coming off this car. Thank you all for watching, and please subscribe, follow along this channel so you can watch this project until it is finished. Thank you.